Hi, Ellie.
Hi. I'm so glad we're actually doing this. Like, it's been a long time coming. We were planning to talk about this for a while, so it's so nice to actually get to do this.
Yeah, I'm excited. So this is the first time Ellie and I do a video. Oh, look at that. It says a live video on YouTube. Anyways, we've gone on Instagram a few times to do this,
Oh.
but it's our first time here on YouTube. So bear with us. We're trying to
Yeah.
figure out the tech. So I'm just on my channel right now to see if it's working. It just seems like
Mhm.
it's scheduled for 2:09 PM. What are we? 2:09. But I don't see us live on here. I wonder if it's gonna let us trim it after so that people watching the replay aren't bored by our little
Yeah,
banter
the
here.
first few minutes trying to figure
Yeah.
out things.
Yeah, exactly. No, because it says it's live, so maybe there is, a bit of a delay, but unfortunately, I don't see it on your channel. Well, I don't see it on my channel
Mhm.
either, so, um, yeah, so let's
It's
see, maybe
okay.
we just
Maybe we
go.
could save this for later, if anything.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and then I have a link here and we can share it with people. So we'll figure it out and hopefully worst case YouTube lets us save this recording and we'll at least post it on our channels and go from there. So like you were saying, so
Yes.
today we're going to talk about emotional detachment and I was really excited to talk about this with you because that topic is like one of my best performing topics on my channel. And actually, what sparked this idea is that I saw you post a video recently about emotional dependence or something like that. I
Mhm.
forget what the exact title was, but I was like, ooh, you talk about this too. So I want to talk about it with you because I know personally in terms of, and we'll do like a little intro for those of you who are watching maybe on the other person's channel and doesn't know one of us, then you'll get to know who we are a little bit. But this is something I really had to work on, and I still work on a lot in my own relationship. I'll share like I'm a pretty emotional person, and I have in the past let my emotions kind of, run loose a little bit, right? And I find like the more you get into your emotions or entangled in your emotions and the emotions of your partner, it can be a slippery slope. So I think there's benefit to, really looking at your emotions. And like we were talking about earlier on, we didn't even consult each other in terms of what's our opinion on this. So we're going to, learn as we go. And
Yeah,
hey,
this is
maybe
all
we'll
gonna be
have,
live.
yeah,
Just
we'll see if we have different opinions or different insights or whatnot, or maybe we agree on this. So we'll see. But I really want to talk about it because, yes, as women in love, and love is something that can really, get obviously our emotions going. We can either become dependent. You were called your video something about emotional dependence.
Mhm.
I find this also falls into the sphere of codependence. And one of the ways to help ourselves out of it or to navigate it can be through emotional detachment. And I know some people think that's cold or it sounds heartless, but I want to invite people to realize that it doesn't have to be that way. Um, and so we'll go from there. So that was a super long winded intro. Without further ado, maybe we can, if you don't mind starting us off and telling us maybe a bit about what you do, who you are, and kind of what led you down this path of relationship coaching. Because we're both, I know you're in your title, you're a bit more than a relationship coach, I think, but what led you down this path?
So yeah, I am a relationship coach for married women who want to stay married, but they're just having a few struggles in their relationship. And the reason why I do that is because I was once just like that, and I didn't know what to do. My husband wasn't ready to go see a therapist because to men, therapy is like next to divorce. And so they freak out about it. But I didn't realize that there are so many tools and things that you can do on your own without really even involving your partner that affect your relationship and affect your partner in your relationship for the better. So that is what really sparked this desire to share the knowledge I have with women. And so that's kind of my background story. Do you wanna share yours? Because I'm sure you have one too.
It is so similar. So the way I describe myself, so relationship coach for high achieving, high value women who want to live their best life. And I have a bit of a similar story to yours where our relationship, the relationship with my husband and I started off like madly in love, whirlwind romance and everything. And then after a few years, things started to get a little bit rocky. And similar to you, my husband wasn't open to going to couples therapy. And I'm so happy you mentioned it because for a long time, I was afraid to say that because I didn't want people to judge my husband or
Mhm.
make it, seem like he's a bad person because he doesn't want to go. And, what's interesting, I love how you share that to men that, can seem like you're on the brink of divorce to do that. And I love that perspective. I actually don't talk about that in that way so much. I like to share also that a lot of times couples therapy can even seem emasculating to men. Like if you understand what men value and kind of how they operate, you're going to see someone else to fix a problem, and men like to fix problems, right? You're
Yes.
taking that away from him in a way too. So I love how you added to that perspective. That's so great. So same thing as you, I realized that I had so much more power than I thought in the relationship, and there were just so many things that we could do to get us out of that funk we were in and go back to that honeymoon phase. And so I love having these
Mhm.
chats with you because we align on so many things. And I find every time I talk to you, I hear like you share like a different nugget of wisdom that I'm like, oh, I love this. I need to
I feel the
integrate
same way about you. To be honest with you, I'm like, oh my gosh, the way she words that is so good.
this.
So that's awesome.
Yeah, so let's talk about emotional detachment. So I'm like super curious now to see what your thoughts are on that. Like I said, I talk a lot about it on my channel because, like I said, I can be a very sensitive, emotional person. If people watching this are like into astrology, my sign is Cancer, my husband is Scorpio. So we are like water signs, like wave of emotions all the time. And for a long
Yeah.
time, I was just going with the flow, literally, and I have to say that was definitely not helping us when, it came to like that shaky period where we kind of hit rock bottom and everything. So when I started to learn more about my emotions and how to manage and navigate them, things started turning around. So I'm curious to know, what do you do? Like, how do you define emotional detachment? What are you talking about when you talk about emotionally dependent? Give us like your point of view on this.
So I think that we as women, especially when we fall in love with somebody, we become so dependent on them in every way, and you want to spend every moment with them. You want to do everything with that person, and sometimes that can hold us back from connecting because you're so in it that you can't see anything outside of that, right? The moments that you feel. And so I believe that it's really important to emotionally detach from your person, so that you have a better relationship. So you're not just going off those wave of emotions because they come and go, like you said, you know. So one day it could be everything is great, and then they say something, or they could even not even say something, just do something that you interpreted wrong. And all of a sudden you have this problem that could have been completely avoided. Um, had you just stayed in like a logical perspective. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have any feelings for your partner, because I do believe that that's really important. That's the one thing that separates an intimate relationship from any other. But just being emotionally, like, in yourself, emotionally dependent on yourself rather than on another person, is going to give you a lot of room, to have patience, to have wisdom, to know where to have grace with your person, and that is definitely going to benefit the relationship long term.
Yeah, and even just to add to that list, like it's gonna help you. I don't know if I heard you say like compassionate and also empathy. Like I have a lot of women who come to me and they're like, "Oh, I'm such an empath," and kind of that's what they're attributing kind of the issues to when it comes to the emotions. I'm like, sounds more like codependence. When you're empathetic, you can look at the person and you can kind of keep that space between you and them. You can put yourself in their shoes, but you're not actually in their shoes.
Mhm.
So when it comes
Mhm.
to the point
Yes.
where you start being affected, I would actually say, we're going more towards codependence, and that's when we really start wanting to use kind of very productive and loving emotional detachment tools that we
Mhm.
can talk a bit later about some of these things that women can start doing today. But that's how I would describe it, right? Like I would describe emotional detachment as being able to look at your emotions and your feelings objectively,
Mhm.
first and
Mhm.
foremost, and in a way that allows you to respond in a loving and, compassionate way, and really help you show up in the relationship in a way that, like, based on the best version of yourself, not just
Mhm.
reacting to whatever your partner is feeling or what's going on or what you're interpreting, right? Like you shared,
Yeah,
right?
and like allowing yourself to slip into victimhood, like,
Yeah.
oh, he didn't do this, and now it's his problem. He needs to apologize and stuff like that. I think
Yeah.
that's really important to
Yeah.
know.
That is really a place where a lot of women get stuck, right? Like after a
Mhm.
while, we start thinking that how we feel is automatically dependent on what the man is doing, when really we have that choice. We have that choice to kind of stay, like I said earlier, with a nice distance between it, and actually think about it in an objective way. And one of the second topic I find that my viewers really enjoy, shouldn't say enjoy, because it's really the topic of what do you do when your man is moody or grumpy, right? Not an enjoyable
Yeah.
thing, but that people really,
Value.
yeah. And I think that's another thing too, like, when you're able to detach and not get, like, enmeshed or entangled or kind of influenced by your partner's emotion, you can actually be there to support him through
Mhm.
whatever's making him grumpy or moody, instead of, like you're saying, going into victim mode and, "Oh, he did something to me. He's being short with me. He's being snappy. Why is he being this way?" I find that's not what's gonna get you to that place of just growing stronger as a couple and of understanding your partner and understanding his emotional world and what's going on with him.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So that's why it's so important.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's definitely not cold or heartless when you're doing it right, because and it's not like I'm not saying that you just become indifferent to, your
Yeah,
partner's
yeah.
emotions or his moods or whatnot. It's just about taking it from a different it's a lot of a mindset game, right? It's
Yeah,
how
it's
the
kind of
story you make.
exactly, exactly. It's the way that you navigate how you see that relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel like maybe we talked a little bit about this already in the first question. But why would you say women want to practice kind of this detachment or work on their dependence, or not being so dependent anymore, right? What's
One of
important?
the big things is, like there's a stigma with being clingy to your partner. And a lot of women, I think they struggle with that once they are in a committed relationship, long term relationships. They feel like they want that closeness, and the guy kind of just wants to, like, hey, you know what, you're great and everything, we had our fun, let me just go do my thing. I need to take care of business, I need to go see my friends, I need to do this and that. And like it starts to become like this disbalance of what she wants versus what he wants. So that's one really important reason why you do want to emotionally detach. And then, like, one of the things that you mentioned with just being able to regulate your emotions instead of having them drive the relationship, um, being able to kind of see things objectively, which again is something you said, and I completely agree with. And there are so many other benefits to it, but those are the three that I would say, like, you know, directly improve your relationship if you are able to detach.
Yeah, and I like how you say if you're able to detach because it is work, right? So kind of like what I
Yeah.
shared earlier, I find that was a big one for me, and I find I still work on that all the time. I always share with women, I'm not
Yeah.
perfect. I walk my talk, but I'm not
Yeah.
perfect. It's going to be a journey, and I say that's one of the things to this day I still work on the most intentionally. And that's the thing about emotions too. We often feel like we're, you know, like you said, victims. I guess our emotions are due to something else, like something external out of us, but we have so much
Yeah.
more power over emotions than we think. And a lot of times it can be just like a habit, an automatic response, maybe a trauma response, but at the end of the day, there is a choice in there. And the more you can kind of keep that gap or that distance, and the more you can kind of sit with it and breathe through it and really think about it, the more you realize that you have the opportunity to like
Change
direct
the
that emotion.
course, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I find that's something that women don't do enough, where we keep thinking, okay, he needs to stop doing a certain action or he needs to stop saying a certain thing for me to feel better. But really, we have, if we really hone in on that power of ours and start
Mhm.
consciously deciding, okay, I feel this way now, is this really my emotion? Like, what do I want to feel like 10 minutes from now? And
Right,
actually
right.
think about how we want to be more intentional about how we feel.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I agree with you.
I have this story, and I love telling this story about when it comes to emotions. I forget where I read this. It's like one of those, like, I don't know if it's a Chinese proverb or one of those, like, old stories, right? And it's called The Man on the Horse or something like that. And it's the whole idea that there's, like, this man walking on this gravel path, and he hears, like, this horse galloping behind him full speed. And the man turns around and sees, like, some guy on a horse, and the horse is going crazy all over the place. And the man says, "Where are you going?" And the man on the horse says, "I don't know, to ask the horse." And it's such an interesting analogy because that's
Yeah.
what it is when you don't control your emotions. Your emotions, the horse, are just like,
Yeah, yep. And
going out
that's
of
how it
control.
goes, like, and then you end up in a place you don't wanna be, when in
Yeah.
reality, you could have influenced it to go the way you wanted it to go.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. So, oh, I think I lost you for a second. There you are.
oh,
It went black for
yay.
a second, the screen. I don't know why. So, how about you share a tip with us? Maybe there's one thing that women can start doing today in their relationship to start, you know, being less emotionally dependent or kind of really detaching. And actually, I just want to say too, before I forget, like, it's normal for you to attune to your partner in your relationship. Like, it's normal for you to, you're with this person every day, for
Mhm.
years. Like, it's normal for you guys to start, you know, copying each
But
other or really,
yeah.
so keeping that in mind and like
Yeah.
not really discounting that. But so don't feel like you're doing something wrong or whatnot by getting your emotions
Yeah.
handled. So
Yeah, you're completely right, and I would say I would notice with a lot of people that I've worked with, um, there are certain times of the month where
yeah.
you feel more like clingy to your partner, or you want more validation from them. And it doesn't matter if you've been married for 10 years or you just started seeing them. So I would pay attention to patterns that you
Mhm.
feel like if there is a certain time where you feel extremely dissatisfied with your partner and you just kind of want to push back and go do your own thing, I would really recommend paying attention to the patterns, to see if you can notice what else is going on in that moment. This is going to be key to help you understand how to detach from your specific partner in your specific relationship, because we can't um, discredit all of the specific things that each couple has and the way that you guys interact. So I would encourage you to just look at the patterns. Is there a certain time of the month that you feel that way? Is there a certain like scenario that tends to happen and you start feeling like super, invalidated in your relationship? That would be the first thing. And a practical thing that you could do is start journaling. I think that journaling is amazing. And I think all women should be journaling because we have a million thoughts come into our head all the time.
Yeah.
So if you're able to just write out, like, I feel this, I feel that, um, just dumping that out onto a piece of paper is going to help you, like, leave it alone. And
Yeah.
that way you
I
don't have to
agree.
express it to your partner and potentially ruin a good experience. And it allows you to just kind of see your thoughts on a piece of paper and look back and decide what you want to do with that.
Yeah, and notice the trends like you were saying too. You might notice, yeah, certain times of the month or certain type of emotions that always come up. I love journaling. Like, that is something that helped me tremendously, and I always encourage women
Mhm.
to do that too. And actually, I would simply just add to what you were saying in terms of what women can do today. One of the things I get the women in my programs, or even with my in my private coaching, what I get them to do is to Google a wheel of emotions or a list of emotions, even just to start understanding your emotions
Mhm.
better. and then use that to journal also because, you know, it's so easy to get stuck in the I'm sad, happy, mad sort of thing. But even the more you can kind of describe your emotions, the more nuance you can see. And okay, it feels like I'm angry, but I'm actually this. And that can also
Yeah.
help you in terms of deciding what to do next. And you'll realize sometimes some of these emotions, like, you know, sometimes, yes, I'm not saying to
It
ignore
has
them,
nothing
but
to do with
sometimes you
your
have to see,
partner, but you think it's all
yeah,
their fault.
yeah, exactly. And you can just kind of drop them and, you know, kind of even maybe develop a sense of humor and kind of laugh at that emotion that you have, you know, depending on what
Yeah.
it is, obviously, to be sensitive. But yeah, I love, yeah, that would be the only thing I add to what you say is, yeah, even kind of get familiar with the various types of emotions so you can really build that emotional intelligence, or some people call it even relational intelligence, or that aspect of it anyways. So
Yeah. And one thing I want to add to that too is, it takes time and like for different people, different methods work best. But the more that you practice it and you become more conscious of it, the better you're going to become long term and your relationship is going to evolve into something better. So even if the first couple of times you feel like this is pointless, this is dumb, I would suggest to just keep trying this or another method. Like meditation is also so awesome.
yeah.
Going on any kind of physical activity is going to help you get your head out of that. Being able to, I heard one of the things someone said was like, wait like 10 seconds before you actually respond. And
Yeah.
there's like so many other things, but if you just wait a little bit and you try, trial and error is going to be key, I think, to any relationship. But the more you do it, the more you see where you can improve.
Yeah, and I love even like the idea of movement too, right? Sometimes
Mhm.
people say emotions are energy in motion. Like sometimes like you have these emotions and like to let it out of your body instead of just verbally letting it out towards your partner, you know, like go outside and take a walk or run, or like I even like say like when I get really mad, like I've been known to like, you know, don't hurt yourself, but like, you know, kick a rock or something really silly like that. But anything to like move and kind of release
Yeah,
that emotion is going to be super helpful because they're not meant to be stuffed down. And, you know, the more you stuff down your emotions, the more sensitive you get. They're not meant to be all crammed down inside. So, whatever you can do, the better it's going to be, and it's going to be practice, it's going to be a journey, and you're just going to go grow stronger together. And that's funny because one of the things, I think this was maybe last year, maybe a couple of years ago, I asked my husband, I'm like, now that we're in a good place in a relationship, like what's the number one thing that you noticed? And he actually mentioned the emotions. He said like
mhm.
it feels more emotionally safe for me to share my emotions with you. And that's one of the things I notice with women too. Like we really want to feel that emotional connection with our partners. We really want them to open up to us. But when we haven't worked on our own emotional regulation and detachment, often what can happen is your husband's going to share an emotion and that gets you all emotional and upset. And then your husband's going to be like, well, I don't want to share that with them because it doesn't feel safe anymore. Or, you know, I'm going to make her sad, or she might feel attacked, or, you know, we get into an argument or something. So I think that's actually another benefit that I'm not sure we touched on, but
I
what
don't
do you
think we
think?
did either, but I'm so
Yeah.
glad you mentioned it. Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes like you get the best insights when you start talking about what you've experienced. So I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah. So this was awesome. I don't know if you have any final words or final thoughts that you want to share with people before we kind of wrap things up, but is there anything
I
else that
would
we kind
just
of
suggest to do it, and look for different methods that work best for you. But the benefits for you and your relationship and your spouse are so amazing when it comes to just detaching from them in an unhealthy way and being able to just view the bigger picture, view the relationship as a whole, view all the different elements without feeling like emotionally driven by any of them. So
Yeah.
I think it's so beneficial. Everybody should be practicing it, and I think we would be out of business if if more people did it.
Yeah, if it was that easy and not so much
Yeah,
of a journey,
if it
but
was.
yeah, so don't, you know, don't be too hard on yourself. ladies watching, we're all I feel like most of us can relate to this. You're
Mhm.
not alone. And even we've been
Yeah.
through it, so we
And
we
it
know
still
what it's
comes
like.
and goes, like we all
Yeah.
experience seasons in our relationships where sometimes things are better, sometimes they're not. And oftentimes, what's going on with you is what's going on with a lot of other people too. So you're definitely not alone.
Yeah, there's always life is always going to throw new challenges your way, and I find like this is also a skill that's going to be so important in other areas of your life too. I mean, it's not just your
Yeah.
partner that's going to trigger you emotionally, or it can be with like friends and family, a lot of times at work also. So the more we can practice in one area, the more it's going to benefit all areas of your life.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Marielle, like a lot of things with relationships, a lot of it is actually it comes down to like character development, like
Yeah.
things that you didn't really know you needed to, but because you're in a relationship, it kind of highlights that you don't have that thing. And then
Yeah.
when you start like doing this things that you need to do to develop those skills, all of a sudden your relationship gets better, everything around you just seems more beautiful. So yeah, that's one thing I noticed too.
Yeah, so do this work, everyone.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on. We'll see whose channel this is on, but maybe before we jump off, if you would let people know where they can find you, what you have going on.
So you can find me. My Instagram handle is XOEllie period Lily. And it's like that for all of my channels. So I'm on TikTok, on YouTube, and on Instagram. And right now I'm actually working on transferring my course into a different platform. So I'm not doing a course right now. I'm just doing like individual coaching. And I'm sure that it's going to pick up here very soon with the course thing. We're just transitioning. So they can message me if they want to work with me directly.
Awesome. So, yeah, right now, same thing here. So, I do have private coaching spots available for October. I do have a group program, Aphrodite, that's opening up later in
Ooh.
October. And that's all about the energetics in relationships, the energy of being your goddess self. And like you were saying, it's like very much a character program and an identity program.
Mhm.
So if you're interested in that, make sure to I think in the about section of YouTube is where I have the links to get in touch with me, or just comment below and I will find a way to reach out to you. But thanks so much for watching, everyone. Should we do this again? Let us know in the comments. We're gonna do
Sounds
this
good.
again,
Yeah, I think we
regardless.
will too. It's
Yeah.
it's become a thing.
Yes, exactly. Awesome. Thanks so much, and we will see you guys later.
See ya. Bye.
Take care.